Okay. Okay, you're all set.
I want to start by saying a big thanks to Mrs. LaHoo because she sent Mr. LaHoo with all the paperwork that is very helpful to me. We'll call to order at 7:02. And we'll start with audience for citizens and staff. Is there anyone who would like to comment?
I would, Rose. I'm under one.
Okay, Dana?
I mean, I'm on a slide. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay. Yeah, the Gazette is sort of featuring a back to school issue this month because being back at school is a national news, has been for the entire month and will continue to be. So I had asked both Dr. Ola and Henrici to send us stuff or let me know who would be the best to let us know anything that's new in the school, the bus routes, any changes, new staff, Mr. Henrici sent something back. Dr. Ola sent something to Sam because I said, if there's somebody better to do that, please send it on. I sent it to Ms. Roberson. And what I got was a note that just expressed what the hours were, not an article, even though I think I was pretty clear in my request. Anyway, I want to thank Dr. Ola for putting all the information that you did on the website. That is what I used. It was comprehensive. It's what what I think the people in the community want to know as well, because COVID affects your school, but it also affects everybody else is concerned about, what's happening in our town as well. And I just want to say that, there's a committee studying joining Scotland. There's a talk about closing the school. I really hope the school uses this year as and uses the Gazette as an opportunity to promote yourselves in public relations. Our newspaper is delivered to most of the households in town, and about 100 more people get an online notification, and a handful of others get it online. Information from the administrators on what's happening in the school, but also from the kids. The teachers were very proactive last year in sending what the kids wrote. And while I know kids like to see themselves in print, the community does too. The community really enjoys what kids put in. So I hope that continues. And just a little side note to the, I don't see teachers here, but maybe the principal. The older kids might be very interested in the front page story and the rural heritage, because it's the memories of kids who went into the consolidated school from the 1950s on to the next couple of decades, people from all over the country. And they're talking about things that interest kids, like what was recess like and what was the cafeteria like, and remembering their teachers and all of that. So it might be something, a good a little learning tool for them as well. That's all. I thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from citizens? Okay, we'll move on to correspondence to the board. And I believe, Dr. Ola, that you have that correspondence.
I do. There are 3 letters of resignation. All of them are from paraprofessionals, and I'll read each one. Is that acceptable?
Please.
Okay. The first one is Dear Sam. This is from Gary Schwartz, who was our paraprofessional in Team A. This letter serves to inform you that I hereby resign my position as a paraprofessional for Hampton Elementary School. I much enjoyed working for and with you, as well as with the entire staff at Hampton. I will miss them and the students I had the pleasure of getting to know and teach. Thank you for having me be a part of the Hampton team. Give my regards to all and stay well. Sincerely, Gary Schwartz. The second one is from Chandler Johnson. Dear Dr. Ola and Ms. Roberson, please accept this letter of formal notification that I am resigning from my position as a paraprofessional effective August 6th. Thank you so much for the opportunity to work in this position. I have learned a lot working with the students, and they have taught me a lot. I have greatly enjoyed and appreciated the opportunities I have been given. I will miss the students, my colleagues, and the Hampton school community. I found a job that allows me to work closer in my home I'm sorry, to my home, and in a district that allows me more opportunities for growth. Sincerely, Chandler Johnson. And just as a footnote, Chandler was a student at Hampton Elementary School. The last one is from Tammy King. Dear Dr. Ola, I wish to confirm my resignation as a paraprofessional in Hampton Elementary School. It has been an honor and a privilege to work with such a wonderful group of teachers, professionals, and students. Though this is a difficult decision for me, I will be following a student on to their future education at another school. I am beyond thankful for all of the opportunities I've been afforded as a staff member here at Hampton Elementary School. The teachers and the administration have been very supportive during my time with the school district, and I move on with all of the skills I have gained from working with such an enthusiastic and knowledgeable group. I wish everyone a happy and successful school year. Respectfully yours, Tammy King. And just as a note on that one, Tammy worked with a student and she's working with that student at the parish health system.
Great. And that's all our correspondence?
That's all your correspondence that was sent.
Okay, we could add that to the addition, resignations.
Or you don't, these are paraprofessionals. You have, I don't believe you have to approve.
We don't accept them?
You can accept them if, I don't know, if that's up to you as chair.
Well, I'm just thinking if we accept them, we could say with regret.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, so we'll do it. Okay. On to discussion. Oh, no, approval?
Rose,
Yes,
could I
Neil?
ask a quick question?
Of course.
What were the dates of these resignation letters?
Let's see. Mr. Schwartz resigned, or I received it. He emailed me on August the 18th. Chandler Johnson on August the 3rd. And Tammy King was August 25th.
Well, two gave 2 weeks notice, but one is pretty late. I don't know. I mean, you don't have a choice. You're going to have to accept them. What are we going to have to do? But I just think that's poor business. That's me.
I think that the person who's going up to Parish Hill, since the student they were working with went to Parish Hill, that's not going to leave us in the lurch. And it's possible she might not have known until that late time. I found when I was working in the schools that at the last minute, there were lots of those kinds of things. But I believe, Dr. Ola, that we're able to replace the people who need replacing, right?
We did replace them. And just as a note, Tammy King was not appointed to the position until the Parish Hill Board of Education met on the 24th. So she actually came to work for us on the 25th because she didn't know if she actually had a job or not. And so that's why it was August 25th. And then she went over to Parish Hill. It wasn't her fault.
And we weren't really in a lurch this time, but I agree, it can be tough if somebody quits the day before school starts and you don't have time to get a replacement.
And we don't have a 2-week notification because none of our people who are paraprofessionals have a contract that demands that kind of notification.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to approval of the minutes from 7/28/21. Do we have a motion? Anne Gruenberg moved.
Susan Love Green, I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments on the minutes as they're presented?
I didn't read them. I didn't find them with the materials, so I'll have to abstain.
I didn't find them.
No, I
You know,
probably didn't look hard. I
Well,
was looking for my phone.
1 minute. Were they, I believe these are ones I did.
No, Matt did.
Matt,
Yeah.
you did these? Oh, okay. Good. then
Yes, I
it's-
did what are we in, July minutes?
Oh, okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Well, should we not vote on them tonight then if everyone didn't get to see them?
I may have been the
Yeah.
only one who didn't.
No,
pull them
I
up.
can't find them either, actually.
No, I don't see him either, but I wouldn't look.
I couldn't find him either.
Well, in that case, I don't see how we can vote on them. So Anne, would you like to withdraw your motion?
I withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Anne withdrew her motion and Susan, would you like to withdraw your second?
Yes, I would like to withdraw my second. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Withdrawn. And we'll make sure next month that you get to see them. Okay, on to number 5, discussion and possible action on the employment of Julia. I could try to say the last name.
Chakowski.
Chakowski.
There's a little
Julia.
thing in there.
Julia, let's let you be the final word.
Yes.
Kakowski.
Kakowski.
Some Polish name.
Okay,
Thank
Chakowski.
you.
Okay,
Now-
yeah, we want to get it right.
I did send out under a separate cover. I didn't want it in the board packet, so it because it has her home address and telephone number, just to the board members. Hopefully you all got that.
Mhm.
Yes,
Good. Okay. Anybody have a question for Julia, or would you like her to give you a little background, or how would you like?
Dr. Ola, I'd like you to discuss for us the nature of the position that Julia will be covering this year.
Okay. We have reorganized our school in terms of Team A. Team A, first grade, is now connected with the kindergarten, and we call it Team K. Team A has only second grade. And the experience that Julia brings with her has a lot of kindergarten, pre-K activities, a first grade teacher. So her bachelor's degree was in early childhood education and psychology. So she came in as a very well-prepared graduate of Eastern Connecticut State University, and her recommendations that Sam received, not only written, but when we did the verbal checks, they all stood out to be outstanding recommendations from 3 different people in 3 different schools. So we're very pleased with her background, and she works now with Mrs. Brown, Indu, who is a very experienced paraprofessional in the kindergarten class.
And where is first grade in all of this?
You mean housed?
I
Or,
mean, well, I heard you say that Team K,
is
and then-
first and kindergarten and first grade?
oh, they're in the same. Team
Correct.
K.
They're in the
Okay.
same team. And that allows for a lot of moving of students into areas of their strengths and into the areas of their weaknesses. And remember, the kindergarten K piece and the first grade are pre-readers, and we want to make sure that all of our students have that ability to learn and become good readers and calculators. With her background and Mrs. Brown's background, we felt that this would be an excellent opportunity to bring those 2 together. The second grade Team A is working with Mrs. Ciano. So I think we have a good mix of teachers and their skills and so forth.
Great, thank you. So I have a question for Julia.
You're frozen.
Oh, I'm frozen? Oh,
No, not you.
no.
Rose
Oh,
was frozen.
I'm frozen?
No, not now, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you for telling me. So the nature of our school and the small school and the fact that we meet individual children's needs as much as we can means you probably won't have the same exact assignment twice. Are you comfortable with that?
absolutely. Definitely. I mean, I grew up in a small town, so I'm used to that kind of education, but also, just seeing, the diverse range of students. It's, every single child is their own case. So even, a whole new class, sure, if it's a single grade, it's another round of first graders, but every child is unique and every year it's a different mix. So 100%, even multi-grade, it's just always a range of kids. So absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Ooh, I see him.
So Ann Gruenberg is wondering when you graduated from Eastern.
I graduated in the fall of 2019. I finished my student teaching, and then the previous spring I graduated with my psychology degree in child development. So the bonus semester was student teaching in fall 2019, and that's when I finalized my child education degree and got my certification from the state.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Neil Moon here. Do you know anything about, or what are your opinions, I would say, or thoughts on a multi-grade teaching? Do you have any?
Yes, so going into this, I definitely did my research on multi-grade compared to single grade and adapting curriculum. And I was expecting there to be a vast difference between kindergartners and first grade. And last year I was a first grade classroom teacher, and a lot of the kids I had coming in, end of year kinders, they had missed the last 3 months of school in person due to COVID. So they were, digital learning, remote learning. And so I had a lot of kiddos coming in, mid kinders and adapting the first grade curriculum to these technically kindergarten level students. And now that I'm actually in with the class, it's very similar. It's that same range where, you got some kids to catch up, some kids, where they are developmentally for first grade, kindergarten, and really it's just adapting to where they are in that range. And it's, a lot less, kind of segmented by K and 1. It really is just a range of students like the class I had last year in any classroom. So I definitely, saw some of the research of how it's really important to adapt curriculum to a multi-grade classroom. And thankfully, the curriculum that Hampton subscribes to, Teachers College, is great. There is a lot of overlap with a lot of the curriculum. So I think that was the biggest challenge for me, was saying, okay, it is a multi-grade classroom. How are we going to intertwine these curriculums? And, seeing the kiddos, I can really see how we're going to have them move along with the curriculum for their grade. And if they're ready to go higher, then they'll just mesh right into other students in the group, more than just like K and 1, as like I kind of thought it might be going into it, but it really is just a range of students. And I have the curriculum to meet them wherever they are. So that's definitely what I've learned from it.
Is this something that did you get any training in this, or is it something that you had to really look up on your own? Because it probably really was. My assumption is it's not addressed in a normal classroom environment as far as teacher training.
Yeah, that was another thing I did. I do a lot of like personal professional development just because I really wanted to understand what I was going into and be well prepared. I do have a psychology degree in child development, but if you look at most curriculum programs, they are meant for single grade classrooms. And, you know, there are a lot of studies about, you know, the benefits of multi-grade classrooms. And that's how we started, like before the Industrial Revolution, was you had the school teacher and a whole bunch of multi-age children, and how that really works, and how, you know, a lot of curriculum programs are meant for single grade. And I wanted to go into that with, how am I going to meet the students' needs, and not just be like, okay, these are the kinders, these are the first graders, because I already kind of knew going into it they were going to be in this whole range, and I wanted to have the material and curriculum aligned to all of the students. So it was a lot of, you know, me just researching, and, you know, there is enough, you know, evidence and research out there to say, you know, it works if we, you know, implement these certain ideas or this approach, and this way maybe not so much. And then of course, you know, you can't just get everything online or from a textbook, you know, talking to the, you know, other educators in the building who've been doing multi-grade, who have that experience, who've seen that range of students, and are really familiar with, you know, Hampton's curriculum and how, you know, you guys approach things. Talking with them was another step of kind of personal professional development that I really wanted to mesh into the system that was already there, and their approach and how they kind of implemented that into their classrooms for all the students. So beyond just the personal research, definitely going in and talking to the educators who are already in the school, that was another thing I kind of, you know, really wanted to get that insight before I started.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Russ?
Yeah, I have a question for Frank. I was just wondering if you could tell me how many students are in first grade. Well, total students, actually.
In the total students
Between the
where?
two, yeah.
In the two?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you refer over to Sam's report, we have a total of 8 kindergartners.
Excuse me. I have my,
I'm sorry?
I'm I'm sorry to interrupt. But I made an error in the numbers.
Oh,
So it's, and I can clear that up now, but I don't want to go out of order.
Go ahead and clear it up. Thank you,
put it up.
Sam.
So if on the second page of my report is just the team numbers, and Julia does the team K1. But 2 of those students, we moved down to team A to equal the 13. So you would take 2 off of team A. So
You mean 2 off of Team K?
team
K1.
K, thank you.
Okay, that makes great sense. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So two students that are what we might typically call a first grader are in team A,
Which is second grade.
which is typically second grade. Does that help, Neil?
It was Russ, I think.
Russ, I'm sorry.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah,
you call me
yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
Just
No,
don't call me
so
late for
what's-
dinner.
Yeah, right.
that's right.
So what's the breakdown then? What is the breakdown in numbers? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, 8
I'm a
kindergarten
little
and
confused with all the talking here.
6 first grade. Is that it,
No.
Sam? No?
Six first, and what was the other one?
Wait a minute. I think it's 8, but my papers are piling.
Yep.
Julia, how many kids?
8 kindergartners, 7 first graders.
Yeah.
7.
Okay.
Clarification.
She knows her business.
She started off well.
I would say that was a crackerjack answer to the interview question also. So I agree. You've started off well.
Yeah.
Good.
So now we need a motion to hire.
Rose, I would make a motion, but I think we have to know the step in the motion.
Bachelor 1.
Bachelor one.
I thought I heard Julia talk about first grade last year.
Was that student teaching, Julia?
No, that was a classroom teaching position at a public school, public elementary school in Mansfield.
For a
And it
full-
was over 90 days?
Full year, yep.
Okay, then she's bachelor two. And Sally, I think I don't remember if I gave you the right number or not.
I will send you a corrected contract tomorrow.
So do you think we could have in our motion just second step bachelor's pay scale? Would that work for you, Mary Ellen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't need the number, just
Okay.
the placement. Yeah. So I'll move that we employ Julia Kakowski at bachelor step 2
As an elementary school teacher?
as an elementary school teacher.
Great.
And I second that motion.
Ann Gruenberg seconded.
Can you put a start date on there?
What is the start date?
I think the first teacher day was the 20,
Fourth.
thank you.
You want to add the
Okay.
24th?
Yes, as of August 24, 2021.
Great. Any discussion? Okay, I'll take the roll since we are on a Zoom meeting. And again, I'll go based on how you show up on my computer. Mary Ellen?
Yes,
Let's see, Russ?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you.
Matthew?
Yes.
And Juan?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. And Anne?
Yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The motion carries with 6 yeses and 1 abstention. I did check with the lawyer and she said, if there's an abstention, I cannot say it passed unanimously, so I won't say that. I can say unanimously among those who voted. Okay, but this motion carries.
Congratulations, Julia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Now, just as a note, if you would like to stay with this meeting, you may, certainly. But if you choose not to, that's perfectly acceptable, okay?
All right, thank you. It was nice
Okay.
to meet everyone virtually.
Nice to meet you too.
I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you.
Great.
Wish you well.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay. My report was kind of just an unusual one because of the fluidity of the entire time between the time of the actually it was the 23rd. And I sent it out on the 24th. And today's meeting with everything that was changing. And I'd like to go through the 5 pieces that I said that I would be talking with you about. I'll be doing it as expeditiously as I can. The current bus routing information, I did ride both bus 1 and bus 2 mornings and afternoons. And I got some information that I think is important. We were able, I was able to find out that bus 1 makes a turnaround at a dead end street that had a pickup truck parked there, which made it incredibly difficult and time consuming for the bus driver to make the turnaround effectively, since it's not a roundabout, it's just a dead end. And so I called Alan Cahill. He put up a no parking sign, so hopefully that has alleviated that problem. but I still don't have a good solid understanding of how we can shorten the routes. I am meeting at some point this week, and I still don't have a date because there are 5 people that have to coordinate their calendars. With EastCon Transportation, their safety advisor, and myself, along with the drivers, to go over the routing to see how we can eliminate some of the turnarounds that take so much time, and pick up students in a more effective manner, and hopefully shortening the run times. Right now, they're about an hour and 15 minutes, which I don't think is a very good time frame. So we are working on that. Any questions about the buses before I go on? Okay.
I have a quick one.
Yep.
Did you get any parents saying they were not planning on using the transportation when you put out that notice?
Yes, we have a number of parents who are not using transportation.
And did that help us shorten the route any, make it
Well,
go quicker?
It would be obvious that we have a huge number of people who drop off their children in the morning, and a large group of people actually that went all the way out our driveway up onto 97 to pick them up in the afternoon. So it's the afternoon run that is the most concerning to parents. We're finding, that's why I'm not only looking at the turnarounds, but looking at the weeks worth of transportation to see if there are in fact parents who are doing this on a continuous basis, and not have the bus slow down, open the door, put their lights on, and wait for the child if there's nobody standing at the end of the driveway, for example. So I will be able to give you a better handle on that and write up what we find in terms of the routing. And if in fact we can shorten it to the point where actually pickup times are changed, then I will make sure all of you get a copy of the new routing situation in terms of timing.
I'm a little worried that some parents will be driving now when there's a longer route, but it might be their hope that when the routes kind of consolidate, they won't have to drive every day. Will we have a way of getting that information back and forth?
Well, at this point, the bus routing is such that they're going to go past every house anyway. So if there's somebody at the end of the driveway, they'll pick them up. If there's nobody at the end of the driveway, they won't stop or slow down. So that
Okay.
That's the only other way we can do that. If a parent wants to call and say, I'm not going to pick my child up this afternoon, have the bus deliver them home, that's the one that we need to know in the morning, so that the teacher can give that to the or not the teacher, the office can give it to the bus driver, so that they know that that child is going to be on that bus in the afternoon, who is normally not on the bus. So it's just the afternoon run that becomes a problematic one in terms of notification. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Frank,
Yes.
this is Juan.
Yep.
We haven't been able to manage to do a communal stop anywhere along the way, because it would make sense to, if they are living close proximity, they should be able to just come in on the bus together. And second, we don't have anything on the book saying that they have to be a certain distance from the school in order to get on the bus, right?
We have to pick up every student who has an address in town who goes to HES.
But we don't have the distance as to how far that person has to live to be able to get on that bus, right? We don't have anything on the books for that.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Number 2, the current COVID updates. At this point, you have all received the information that I received from the State Department of Education relative to the COVID regulations. It was titled Frequently Asked Questions Regarding Vaccinations for Covered Workers in School. This is the document that has caused some concern in other school systems. We believe at this point, excuse me, we believe at this point that every staff member has been vaccinated and has been fully vaccinated. But at this point, we cannot ask that until the end of September. So that we don't feel that our students are being confronted by anybody who is not vaccinated. In addition, both bus drivers have been vaccinated. They telling me that they have been, and then all our students are hand washing, social distancing of 3 feet in the buses, and they always wear masks from the time they get on the bus until the time in the morning until the time they get off the bus in the afternoon, and all during school. And so far, this is the procedures that we have in place for the reopening of the school. Any questions on that? Right, the current weather conditions. I know there were people who were upset with me for a number of reasons, one of which was Mr. Henrici himself. He was not happy, but basically what I was concerned about was that the Weather Channel, which is where I went to get the best information that I could, projected 70 to 80 mile an hour winds, and that the eye would come up right up New London and basically over Hampton, Rhode Island, that area. So I was very concerned that with that kind of powerful winds and torrential rains that they projected, that Hampton could be without power from Sunday through however long it would take them to get the power back. And I was very concerned that once the power went out, I would not be able to communicate not only with Sam, but then with Sam to all of the parents. So that is why I chose to close school before the hurricane hit on Saturday, and to make sure that everyone was aware that we would postpone the opening of school from the 23rd for teachers and the 25th for students to the following week, which would be today for teachers and September 1st for students. When the hurricane came and was less than was projected, and I called Alan Cahill Sunday night, he said, to be very honest, we'll be able to have the town open and running so that you could have school open on Tuesday. He said, we never lost power, at least at the town hall and at the school. So he felt that there would be no problem with opening of school. And that's when I made the change. And I think that change was concerning to just a few people who voiced their concerns about changing of the schedule, I guess, of the school. I felt that it was appropriate to make the change. And in hindsight, with the weather that we had, I feel it was still appropriate in making the change to facilitate the opening of school on the projected day of the 25th for students. Teachers were able to be there on the 24th with no teachers absent. The other concern of weather was the heat-related concern of closing school at 12:30, right after the students ate lunch, and still allowed Mr. Henrici to dismiss his high school and middle school students at the correct time Otherwise, if we did it any later, he wouldn't be able to do that and turn our buses around in time. So yes, that caused a problem for some parents who work, and I apologize for that, and I would choose not to do it without great concern for the health and safety of the students in terms of the heat or snow or wind, rain, hurricane-y kind of weather. So those were the rationales that I used in terms of making the changes that I did do. Any questions about the weather-related decisions I was making? Okay. The other key budget issues, we're going to be talking about the budgets under not only Sally's report, but you have two items to discuss, line item changes and the overall budget. We are faced with the most unusual circumstance. Sally and I met face to face this morning. We have about an $80,449 and change surplus that we were unable to spend. We thought it was more like $20,000, but there are three really motivating problems that we had to face. One of which is the school readiness grant came in at full funding because of the COVID issue, regardless of the fact that we had very few students in the program. Normally, we have student expenditure grant monies based on $6,000 for each student. We got the full 16 student amount last year, which resulted in Sally's going to help me with this one, about $35,000 grant increase. We also got spent the money for new infrastructure for our technology, file servers, the wireless and the cabling to make all that stuff work together. And even though it was ordered back at the beginning or middle of, there were different orders, so the beginning or middle of May, they still haven't arrived. None of that material has come in, and that's some of the back ordering for COVID related problems. In addition, we ordered our Chromebooks. They have not come in, and we ordered our Playscape, and that has not come in. And we are working with our auditor to see if, because we ordered the material, but it hasn't come in because of the COVID supply problem, if we could, in fact, take about, it's worth between $35,000 and $40,000 worth of orders, and use them when the materials actually do come in. So there's a whole negotiation process that we're going through right now. Sally will help me with any inaccuracies that I might have portrayed here. But it's been a very difficult problem, both with budgeting and grants at this point in terms of funding. So that's where the $80,000 overage of funding came in. The 2%, which is $40,000 over our budget, were other variations. We lost a number of people who left our employment, and so we had some changes in insurance costs because people opted out of our insurance and into their spouse's insurance, health insurance, those kinds of things. So the budget is hopefully we'll be able to get both the accountant to understand the concerns that we had because of the COVID issue, and the Board of Finance to understand that even though we have this surplus, which has been sent to the, not sent to the state in terms of dollars, reported to the state, that hopefully they'll be able to understand that some of that money needs to be put aside so that we can pay the bills that were supposedly paid because the equipment was supposed to be in during the regular 2021 academic year. So that's the end of my report, unless there are some questions.
Would you say that, this is Ann, would you say that the money is encumbered?
Well, that's what we're dealing with the auditor at this point, whether or not we can encumber. His position has always been that if it's not in the building usable by June 30th, it has to be given back. But I don't know if any of you go into Brooklyn on Route 6 and you go past the Ford dealership and the Chevy dealership and they have no cars to sell. And it's the same with us. We have no product that was delivered in a timely fashion. And that's the conundrum we're in. So we're still negotiating with our auditor, and hopefully the Board of Finance will help us with some of these issues by allowing us to spend money for items that we ordered but not received when we do receive them.
And can we use any of it for buying books?
Ann,
No,
will you repeat that? Oh,
I'm sorry.
Ann, will you repeat that?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could use any for buying books or licenses for the software.
No, there was not, the money was not for books, papers, that kind of stuff. Some of it was for PPE, that kind of stuff that was back ordered, but it's mostly manufactured, just like copper wire for the internet system. They don't even know when they're going to be able to get it to us. The latest is December,
Okay.
but no text material that would impact education for our students. That's all in place.
So do we need a letter from an attorney stating that for the auditor?
I would say that's a little premature at this point. We're still working with our auditor.
The what?
We're,
I
st-
didn't hear
we're
the
still,
first part.
we're still working with the auditor, so it's a bit premature to contact a lawyer.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking of it in terms of threatening, but just more matter of fact, because it sounds like the auditor is operating under a rule system that is not so relevant.
As soon as we get information from the auditor, we'll be able to, Sally and I discussed it this morning at our meeting. And as soon as the auditor gets back to us with a firm understanding of, we can't use the term encumbered funds easily because they're encumbered, but because the material hasn't even been invoiced yet because they haven't sent it yet, there's a conundrum between encumbrance of an invoiced item and a PO, our purchase order to buy the item. And the invoice doesn't come until the item's actually shipped. So we're in a kind of an unusual circumstance here.
Yeah, and it's such a pervasive issue that everybody who does any kind of business is aware of that is a national problem, probably international.
Okay, thank you all. Let's move on.
Okay, thank you.
On to the principal's report. Ms. Roberson.
Hello, everyone. I hope you had a nice August. If I need to, I'll send a copy with the corrected number on the team numbers that we have, the two first graders that are in the second grade class. There's also a little, I added the little welcome back note that Julia had sent out to her parents. It's not the only communication that she's done, but it just gives you a little bit about her style and her enthusiasm. And we're happy to have her aboard. It's been really busy answering questions for parents, especially with the bus changes and the shift in time, calculating when kids would arrive and when they needed to be there. But we're sorting through it all and trying to remain cool, as in cool temperatures because of the heat. And the kids are all looking healthy and excited, and the teachers are gathering some information on their math scores and looking at where they left off in order to make some math groupings. And we're excited about that. So other than that, I don't think I added too much. We are just starting to make our plans for professional development for the year. So.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? for
Rose,
Ms.
I do.
Yes, Juan?
Hey, Mrs. Robertson,
Hi.
I understand you're busy and all that, but I'd like for you to be a little more careful with your numbers, or at least your access to information we asked you, because it seems to me like you can never answer a question, or you always leave us wondering what exactly you did answer. So I would ask you to be more accurate, and I would ask you to be more succinct. Thank you.
Will do.
Okay. We will move on. So here's my agenda. We'll move on to the Director of Special Education report.
Okay,
Doc-
good evening. Yes, good evening, everyone. If you would please refer to the paper that says Hampton Board of Education Meetings Special Education Report. Maybe if I can know if everybody found it. It's hard to know virtually. I'm trying to look at you all.
I think you can just go on with your report.
Okay, thank you. So I want to be clear, this is not apples to apples, but I will explain it the very best I can. Every year, schools get information, and it's called our October 1st report, and that's part of how special education grants are determined. And the reason that it's October 1st is because usually by October 1st, students have moved in and you've settled and you understand services. And we have some new students right now who are in the process of doing that. So what I did report last year is on our October 1st, 2019 report, we had 15 students in total identified as special education. The next year, the same report, we had 17 special education identified students. Now, clearly it's not October 1st yet. So I used the date we have, August 25th, 2021, and we had 18 special education identified students. And below that, I have listed 16 at Hebron Elementary, one private
Hampton Elementary.
Oh, Hampton, yes, of course. Hampton Elementary School, one private outplaced and one at the Charles Barrow School. And the reason that I have the private outplaced in the Charles Barrow School is, many of you might know this, but it bears repeating. Hampton owns their IEPs. We do the paperwork for the IEPs. We pay for the students legally. We do the planning and we run the PPT meetings. So just to know that we're staying you know, that's pretty even. We're staying pretty even. And then last year, I reported on October 21st, our count, just as for informational purposes. So next to the side of October 21st, I took the latest date I had, which was August 25th, just so we could get an idea on one year to another. So last year we had 16 students we were educating both in seat and distance. This year we're at 74 in seat or in-house students at Hampton Elementary School. Both years we had one, at that time, we had one outplaced student. We had last year 2 students at the Charles Barrow Magnet STEM School. This year we have 5 students at the Charles Barrow Magnet School. And I did hear what what Juan's wife said about using the Gazette and about us marketing ourselves, because I think we have the best school, and I'd love to get those magnet school kids back. But in any case, we have 80 total enrolled students right now. And I put a little note below that just because I happen to know this just from other things, that 4 of our homeschooled students, they're not in the count, but that they do qualify to receive special education. So we do not service them, but I'm just saying that for our planning purposes or our knowledge, that's a significant part when you're talking of 18 if we got 4 more students. So we try to be aware so that we are at capacity to meet students' needs right away. And then I think the last thing I would say, because it's almost palpable this year, is there's a real can-do attitude. I'm not sure if it's because, last year we were so afraid, or many people were, of COVID, and this year we're still respectful. I'm not sure if it's the new staff combination, but we've had a lot of teaming already and really great, I think, communication about how to move students forward. And I appreciated Mr. Moon's question about the paraprofessionals. And I just want to share, one of the paraprofessionals did let us know, the administration, quite some time ago, about the possibility of going to another school for our planning. So, and we were very sorry to see that person go, but they did move on with one of our kids, and we think that was great too. But your point is a very good point. It's hard when people leave, but I have to commend her, because we knew that, we were able to make assignments that we didn't have to shift, and we were prepared. So that was a very good point. So thank you. That concludes my report. I have any questions or anything.
Any questions?
Comment, it's not a question. Thank you for your ongoing commitment.
Did you hear? Did you hear
She said
that?
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I actually love the Hampton School District. And I'll just add one more thing. I did a state visit. I do state compliance visits on Friday, and the school was even smaller than ours. So with what Juan's wife said, I agree. We are so magnificent, and we need to kind of be marketing that. And the state did reach out to me today and asked me to do more compliance visits for them, which is great for Hampton, because then we learn exactly what the state is looking for, what the gold standard is according to them. And, we come back with ideas and things. So I really love working in Hampton and appreciate the opportunity. So thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Mary Ellen.
I wanted to know if we provide special education for the home school children, because I believe that we are allowed to.
We do not. We had a meeting today And Dr. Ola asked me that question, and I want to go back and look at exact regulations around. He asked me the question about the Mennonite school too, and I don't know the answer to that yet. I think the first place that I'm going to start is the Tom Mooney book that I usually borrow from Dr. Ola to look that up. And then we have Mary Jean Sherbrill is assigned from the State Department of Ed to us, so I can ask that question, because we certainly want to do everything for them that we're supposed to, beyond just child find. So I can report at that at the next meeting, if that's acceptable.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I think the policy question is, what are we required to do, and what can we opt to do? So I think it's a school by school decision, and even a child by child decision. That's my impression. So I'd like information on that.
Anne, could you help us with finding the policy, the Hampton policy that applies, and maybe forward that to Dr. Benson Clark?
We do have it it's online.
Yes, but there's a lot of policies. Could you help us find the specific one?
Sure.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to look for it as well. I know it gets tricky, and I think that's what you're both alluding to. You know, for instance, is somewhere where I worked, we were told not to necessarily allow employees' children to attend our school, because then if you said no to one, it would be discriminatory. But then sometimes you can do more than you have to do, as I think Dr. Gruenberg just said. So I'm very interested in this too, and I know that it's a complicated kind of layered answer. So I will do my best to get the answer and let you all know it. And if I need help from you, I will I'll ask on policy, because I know we have some real experts on this board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to the business coordinators report. Mrs. LaHoo?
Yes, so first, let me apologize. The minutes were sent out the beginning of August, but I did not include them in the packet. That's my oversight. And when I looked at that, I also see I didn't send out several of the other year-end reports. So I have them. What's your preference? Would you prefer I wait till next month, or shall I send them tomorrow?
Personally, I'd like to see them tomorrow.
Sure.
Thank you.
And of course, all of these are draft. They're not labeled draft. I should have put draft, but things are changing. We still got some bills this week. We're still working with the auditor. I wouldn't call it a negotiation, because we're not actually, we can't negotiate, but there are some rules, some general accounting standards, and he's given us a little bit more information about how we might be able to encumber something. So we're sending him the information, and we'll see how that turns out. This also makes it very difficult to get our state report done, which is due on Wednesday. So the fact that we're still trying to figure out our expenses for the year is making that a little bit difficult, but we will get it done. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, this is Anne. Are the people in the state empathetic? Like, do they understand the position that you're in?
So I don't think it matters our position. There are rules that we have to follow. So we will follow the rules as best we understand them and as the auditor interprets them for us.
So I don't know if it's a question or what. I need to by, well, I guess I don't, according to the ordinance, I don't need to have a figure to report to the finance committee until the end of November. However, if it's greater than the 2%, then I I can't do it after the meeting, the August meeting of the Board of Finance. So I think what I will do is write the memo for 10 or for 2% of our budget and ask that that be held aside. And we'll hold that separately from all the other questions that Dr. Ola has. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. I think we'll have 2% regardless of the expenses that if we're allowed to encumber them, I think we'll still have the 2%.
Okay, so that's why I'm looking forward to getting the report tomorrow, or when you can get to it relatively soon. And I'll write my memo based on the figure for 2% that I get in the reports.
Yes, so Rose, you do have the Board of Ed budget report is there. It's the grants, the activity fund. Those are the ones that I didn't include.
Well, I didn't see the one, oops, 1 minute. Yeah, the dates are 2021 to 2022. I don't see the 2020 to 2021 report, which is the one I need.
Okay, well, double check. It did go out. It's possible that when I printed it this evening for you that I missed it, but it did go out in the packet.
Well, that's where I couldn't find it in the packet. So could you just send me another one? Because I
certainly will.
Yeah, because I spent a while looking for it and couldn't find it.
And maybe, may I wait until Wednesday, because things may change before Wednesday.
Okay, but the 2%'s not going to change before Wednesday. That'll never change.
I'll send you what I have right away.
Okay, you could just send me the bottom line of it if you want, and I'll do 2% of that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rose?
Yes, Frank?
Just a point, Sally and I were going over the payroll and all the other for this new academic year. And we had to clarify with Mrs. Holmes, who is our SLP. She was voted in as our SLP based on a master's degree. And she in fact has a 6th year degree, which I have a transcript copy of. And I think we're going to have to add to the agenda that she would be placed on a 6th year rather than a master's degree.
All right, we'll finish with Sally's report and then get to that, okay?
Oh, that's why I brought it up, because I thought Sally was done.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sally, were you done? Maybe so. Okay,
The agenda, that would be helpful.
okay, I just put it on my notes for that.
Good.
All right, so Sally turned off her microphone, so I'm going to take that as yes, she's done. And we'll move on to.
Thank you, Rose.
Oh, you're welcome, Sally. Thank you. We'll move on to discussion and possible action on the replacement of Neil Moon for 2 months, September and October of 2021. So Neil, we're sorry to see you go. We're happy that your life will get better with your move, though. Yeah, but we need to determine, do we want to do a replacement for the 2 months?
Rose,
Yes, Juan.
I contacted the Secretary of State. By law, we cannot appoint anybody until September 1st. And that would
Okay.
mean that by the time we would have to have a special meeting to appoint somebody for September. That means October would be the only month that that person would be serving. Second, this board has previously allowed vacancies to stay open until the election time, because that happened to me. And before before I've seen, or I know that Democratic members of this board have selected a Republican member. And since I'm the Republican chairman and we have another Republican on the board, we would like to be allowed the right to select the candidate that's going before the board, rather than the board itself appointing. Democrats appointing Republicans doesn't do it. And I just want to be able to object to that very highly. It's been done before. It's been done without the permission of the town committee when we had other viable candidates. And so that's where I stand. But as far as filling the position for September, no can do.
I don't think we should fill it for either September or October, to be honest. The process that we'd have to go through would take time. I do want to say that this seat does not have to be filled by a Republican. It has to be filled by a non-Democrat. So there would be unaffiliated people and there would be independents, someone from the Green Party. So to say it has to be a Republican, I think is limiting.
Well, I Rose again, I would disagree with you only because it is a Republican seat. And as we stand right now, we're outnumbered 2-1 on the board. So I would ask you guys to think about the viability of placing a Republican, not an unaffiliated, who has no connection to the Republicans in town. So thank you.
And if anybody's interested in seeing that policy, it's online and you don't need it for the source. Site for the school and then look for Board of Ed policies. And there is a policy about filling positions between elections. But I agree, we're very close to the
So you agree, are you saying that you don't think we should fill the vacancy?
Rose, is she speaking? Because we can't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Ann, you'll have to repeat yourself.
Okay, well, I'll version.
Wait 1 minute, Ann. Well, I have you on speaker. I don't know why it's not. Okay, try now.
We do have a policy.
Can't hear it.
Ann is saying there is a policy and a procedure that is statutory for filling the Board of Ed vacancy. I don't know. Somebody said something. I don't know who and I don't know what. I don't think so. And say what you want to say, okay?
Okay. I'm done.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? What is people's pleasure? Should we start working to replace for 2 months, or should we not?
Ann said there's a policy procedure. Do we know what it is?
Well, I do believe that it involves someone from, well, I would have to go and look at it, to be perfectly honest. But I think the point about it being a non-Democrat is probably pretty accurate. So unaffiliated or Republican.
Excuse me, Rose, would you like me to read the policy? It's fairly short.
Thank you. That would be a big help.
Okay. The policy is in our bylaws. Policy number 9221, filling vacancies. Appointments. If a vacancy occurs in the office of any member of the board, it shall be filled by the remaining members of the board until the next regular town election. At that election, a successor shall be elected for the unexpired portion of the term, and the official ballot shall specify the vacancy to be filled. And the rest is just about taking the oath.
Okay, thank you.
So it sounds like we have to fill it if that's our policy, that it shall be filled. So the board has to appoint somebody. And if I remember right, we called for volunteers and then we interviewed them.
That is what we did.
Rose, excuse me.
Yes, Juan.
My objection is that when Kathy Donahue resigned from the board, that was left open for months before the election. And we have 30 days to appoint somebody. And if we don't do it in 30 days, then the Board of Selectmen gets to do it. And they would have to be doing it after the election. So that's not going to happen either. So we can either table this or we can keep dabbling with this, but we still can't appoint anybody tonight. That we're breaking the law if we do, because the Secretary of State is very clear about that. You can't appoint somebody while they're still sitting on the board, and he'll be sitting there till after tomorrow.
So Juan, I haven't heard anyone suggest we do it tonight, so we're pretty safe in that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know that even if we started the process, we would be done in time to have someone seated. And I agree that we have precedent for not filling a vacancy, especially when it's a very short one. So personally, I have no trouble with not appointing someone to fill this vacancy.
Thank you.
And I have a comment too. And it took me a long time, probably several years, to figure out why we had a 9-member board of education when we were such a small school. It didn't make any sense to me. And what I finally realized is that we have a need for a larger, like a 9-member board, because we have committees and we have fewer staff people. And so a lot of the management of the school is more of a responsibility of board members than it would be in a larger district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm not hearing many people chime in.
I agree with you, Rose. There's just not enough time to go through the procedures that they want us to go through in order to put somebody in. By the time we go through it, the voted position will be done and it'll be all for naught. So I'm with you. There's no sense of doing this.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone else who would like to express an opinion? Well, hearing none. I'm going to leave it at we won't fill the position unless at some point someone makes a motion and the board votes to do it. Let's move on to item 11, discussion and possible action on the line item transfers for the 2020-2021 budget. Mrs. LaHoo, is this you or Frank?
Could be either. They are in my report, so if you want me to read them.
Well, I'll be honest. I found that very difficult to understand in the way it was. Maybe because I'm used to seeing the chart, but I found after reading them, I really didn't have a good idea about what was the end state of the budget. So reading them again isn't going to help with that.
Okay, well, there were just two transfers.
Mm-hmm.
62,000 from professional services to the 500 other purchase services. And the second one being 10,000 from 200 benefits to 400 purchased property services.
Okay, so it would be my personal preference to see how that fit into the whole budget, but that doesn't mean it's anybody else's. So let's find out. Do we have a motion to approve the transfers as requested? Okay, Anne moved. Do we have a second?
I have a question. I guess I'll second it so I can ask my question.
What's your question? You froze a little bit. What's your-
My question is, do we need to do these transfers so that the bills can be paid?
So an auditor we had, our old auditor told me that it's typical that transfers are made at the end of the year after things have closed out. That being said, it's really, how do you feel about it?
As in, do we want to make transfers at all?
Well, yes, I mean, you can, the bills are paid. So this has already happened. So the part, if you choose not to do it, then it won't be done and we'll have a budget that has overages that aren't approved. The bottom line is obviously not over. Or you can make them and we will be in compliance.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Okay, we'll start with Mary Ellen.
Yes.
Russ,
No,
Neil,
No,
Susan,
I'm abstain.
Matthew,
yeah, I'll abstain.
Juan,
No,
Anne? The motion fails. 3 noes to 2 yeses. So we will have, we will not make the transfers. Okay. Thank you all. Let's go.
Rose, you're frozen.
Damn it.
Now you're back.
I'm back. Okay. I don't know what does that. Yeah. I hope you didn't hear me swear.
We did. It's been recorded.
The whole town did.
Anne would have heard it, but
I heard
you
I
would
heard you.
phone. Anyway, I apologize if you heard it. So this possible discussion and possible action on the finalized 2020-2021 budget report. That's the report I couldn't find. Was there anyone else who had trouble finding it?
I don't have it.
Kathy did not have trouble. Mary Ellen doesn't have it. Neil, do you have it? No. Russ doesn't. I don't know what those hand signals mean.
just one.
I did not find it.
Okay, Neil, did you
No.
find it? No.
I didn't.
Okay, I think there's enough of us who couldn't find it that I'm gonna ask we do this next time. If there's a compelling reason to do it before the end of next month, we'll have to have a special meeting after we all have found it. I find it really hard to vote on something, that I can't find. Okay, we'll move on to committee and liaison reports. Communications.
Nothing to report.
Okay, finance and operations. Oh, Mark isn't here.
Oh, you're frozen again. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. I pound on the, excuse me, on the pad and it seems to come back. I'm not comfortable reporting for Mark, but there were minutes produced. So we'll have to let that suffice until next month when he's here and he can report on 2 months, if that meets with approval. And then there's policies.
Yes, the policy committee did not meet officially, but I did meet with Lisa.
Rose, we can't hear anything's being said.
So Ann said that there was not a policy meeting. However, she did meet with Lisa and they reviewed the protocol for updating policies on online.
Okay.
Okay. Did you all hear that? She also,
No,
I got my phone back. If it works better in previous meetings, I can call Ann. Does it
oh, that would help.
work better?
That would work a lot better.
Okay.
Thank you. Ann, I'm gonna hang up
Ann,
on you so that,
Thank you very much for everything.
okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye. Okay, we'll give Ann just a second. While we're waiting, we can move on to ad hoc minority recruitment if you'd like.
There was no meeting. I was out of state for the last 3 weeks. So.
Oh, welcome back.
Thank you.
May I, Rose?
You may.
Juan?
ahead,
Just
sir.
so you know that we did hire a gentleman. His name is Josh Lord. He is from Guatemala.
Good.
And what position did we hire him for?
He's a paraprofessional and he's working in Team B.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. The ad hoc, oh, I'm sorry, Ann is now available through Mary Ellen. Ann, had you finished your policies report?
Well, I finished it, but if anybody didn't hear it, if somebody didn't hear it, I'll repeat it.
Well, I repeated it already. I think people heard.
Okay, we're fine then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The ad hoc superintendent's evaluation committee did not meet. And we have CABE. And do you have a report from
Yes.
CABE? Okay,
CABE is going full speed ahead. There's a meeting tomorrow of the government relations. And the planning for the conference in November is full speed ahead with proposals being reviewed. there's a lot of activity going on. They're starting to have more meetings with in-person meetings. So that's, if you have questions, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Andy's gone?
Hold on, Ann. EastCon did meet. One of the things we're looking at right now is writing a capital plan. The generator failed. There was a power outage at EastCon, and the generator did fail. So there's a need to review all of the buildings that EastCon owns and write a capital plan. The gentleman that's been the maintenance head has been there about at least 30 years, and there's a new hire. So that's one initiative. And bylaws will be changing probably at the end of September after the 30 days that each of the districts gets to review the new bylaws. That's it.
Mary Ellen?
Yeah.
Just to make sure everybody, I have my copy. I emailed it to Rose and I mailed it to Rose and I mailed it to you, which is the EastCon bylaws, just so that you know that they did go out to the 3 people who were listed on the bylaw document.
Okay, I haven't gotten my,
No, I just mailed it today.
oh, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're ready to move on to additions to the agenda. So we can accept the resignation, so we can say with regret. And we can change the error made in hiring our speech and language pathologist on the wrong scale. I'm going to ask Dr. Ola to help us flesh out this. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to ask for a motion to add resignations and correct salary scale placement on the agenda.
I'd like to add something else, Mary Ellen.
Yes, what would you like to add?
I want to add that the board have an ad hoc committee to investigate shared services with Chaplin.
Okay. Should we make it 3 separate motions? Unless Dr. Ola can help make it one.
I think it's better because of the nature of the third one to have them separated.
Okay, so our first one should be to accept the resignations of Gary Schwartz, Chandler Johnson, and Tammy King.
Correct.
Okay,
With regret.
with regret, I would hope, but I don't know who's going to make the motion. That would be up to them.
Rose, I'll move it
Yeah.
that way.
Okay, Juan, you'll move it. Would you like it to say with regret?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, and
Anne seconded it. Any discussion? All right.
Are we just voting to add it to the agenda?
No.
Or are we voting on the actual motion? We have to add it first.
Right. I'm sorry. We're voting on adding it. You're right. Add para. Mary Ellen?
Yes.
Wait.
Who
What's
said what?
the motion right now? Which one are we doing? Right now, I have just Juan and Ann to accept resignations of 3 pairs with regret. That's the motion on the floor right now.
Yeah, but it should be to add accepting the,
That's not what was said. I mean, I gotta know, I'd like to know what we're doing right now.
okay, we
Okay,
have,
I'll move to add accepting resignations to the agenda. Mary
I'll
Ellen,
second that. And
okay, Matthew, does that straighten it out enough?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so Mary Ellen said yes. Russ? This is to add it to the agenda.
Yes.
Neil?
Yes,
Susan?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Juan?
Yes,
Anne?
yes,
Yes. Okay, and we'll add that as 14A. Now, can we use the motion made by Juan and seconded by Ann to vote on that item now, Matthew? Would that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's vote to accept the resignations with regret. Mary Ellen,
yes.
Russ,
No.
Neil,
no,
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
abstain.
Ann.
yes.
Okay, the motion carries 4 to 2. Now we need to have a motion to add correcting the pay scale for the speech and language pathologist. Frank, would you help us word that correctly?
Her name is Diane Holmes, Holmes. From master's to a 6th year salary.
What step? What step, do you know?
Offhand, I don't know. It's gonna be the same step regardless.
I think it was 12.
It was 12.
Yeah, she retired. All right, so we need a motion to change Mrs. Holmes' step placement from the master's pay scale to the 6th year pay scale 12th step.
We have to add it to the agenda and then do that.
You're right. This is to add that to the agenda. Do we have a motion to add it to the agenda?
I'll move it.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
And Ann second. So Mary Ellen made the motion and seconded it. Okay, I'll call the roll. Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Russ? I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. Neil,
yes,
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
No,
Ann,
Yes,
the motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1. Now we need a motion to change Mrs. Holmes' step placement from master's 12th step to 6th year 12th step. Do we have that motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second Ann.
Okay, so Mary Ellen and Ann. Any discussion? All right, I'll call the roll. Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Russ,
Same.
Neil,
yes,
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
no,
and Ann.
Yes,
Okay, this motion carried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. The motion carries. Okay. Now, Mary Ellen, would you like to formulate the motion to add to the agenda the item you wanted to add?
I'd like to move to add forming an ad hoc committee to investigate shared services with Chaplin.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. Susan Lovegreen.
Thank you. So it's Mary Ellen and Susan. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Mary Ellen,
What, little discussion, please.
all right, what's your
So,
discussion?
Yeah, is this in addition to the Scotland discussions that are going on?
This is to add it to the agenda.
Oh, okay, so just to add it to the agenda.
Yes, that's the motion currently. Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
No,
Anne,
Yes,
the motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1. Now, Mary Ellen, would you like to make the motion to form an ad hoc committee?
Yes, I move that the Hampton Board of Ed form an ad hoc committee to investigate shared services with the Chaplin District.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Lovegreen.
Okay. Any discussion?
So is this in addition to the Scotland group?
It would be.
We
Any
don't
other-
have, we don't, the Board of Ed doesn't have a Scotland committee. That's
I understand. right.
technically the Board of Selectmen with Rose representing our board, or on the committee, I'd say.
Right. Thanks.
Any further discussion?
I
Rose,
just want to do this.
Rose, I just wanted to clarify, I'm also a member of that Scotland committee.
Yes, I think I just said that, but was I frozen when I said it?
Yes, because I didn't hear you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm freezing up so much. Yeah, so Juan is a member of the Selectmen's Committee to discuss shared services with Scotland, as well as me. Any further discussion on the motion to start an ad hoc committee to share services with Chaplin?
Well, to investigate it. Yeah, I just want to say that I think that we shouldn't just have one choice being investigated. So I just figured we should look at other systems, and, if Chaplin was mentioned quite a long time ago, is why they weren't being looked at also. So that's why I'm proposing it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take the roll. Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Russ,
No.
Neil,
No.
Susan,
Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
it's okay.
Couldn't get that button.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
No,
Anne,
Yes.
okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. The motion carries 4-3. If anyone is interested in being on that ad hoc committee, please contact me and I will appoint members. Please, I'm trying to think, no later than a week from now, let me know. And then I'll make appointments. Okay. So I think that makes us ready for audience for citizens and staff.
I add something else to the agenda.
Oh, okay, Neil, what would you like to add to the agenda?
This is the time. Before we just go along and because seeing the state mandate of critical race theory being taught, before we decide we're going to do that, I would like to see a vote on if we're going to do that before we even see what the curriculum is, because I don't know what they're going to be teaching, how they're going to be teaching it. And from what I've seen nationwide, there's a problem. As soon as you start to see what is expected to be taught by teachers, it's not going well. So I don't know how to add it to the agenda technically, but I guess I would make a motion to add to the agenda that before we proceed to teach critical race theory, that there should be a discussion and vote on it after we know what the curriculum will be.
I'll second that, Russ, Martha.
So this is Anne. I just have a comment.
Well, can you read back the motion before you comment?
Sure.
Thank you. Matthew, will you read back the motion, please?
Actually was gonna ask Russ to repeat it if he doesn't mind.
It's Neil.
Sorry, Neil.
made-
Sorry.
I don't know if I can repeat it perfectly.
Yeah, that's, I was trying to start writing it down and so you wanted to vote on something that we don't know what it's even about? You want to vote on whether we would teach critical race theory? Is that it?
I would guess simply that before we teach something, we have no idea what it's going to be, that we should just have a discussion and then vote on it, I guess is the best way to put it, and then vote on it after we understand what the curriculum will be. I know that's a lot, but I think that's concise as I can get it.
Do you?
And this motion was to add it to the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
So we want to add a discussion,
He wants a vote.
to add a vote on whether or not Hampton will teach critical race theory?
At the mandate from the Connecticut Board of Education that will be implemented. I think there's a choice here unless we're just going to roll over. That's all. I'm very strong on this. I've done enough research on it, and I just don't want to just say, okay, now in this school year, I guess I could ask Frank, have you seen anything on what the curriculum will be? Because this is going into elementary school too. It's not just high school.
No, there has been nothing. My only point would be if it's mandated that we have to teach it by the state Board of Education, I am legally obligated to bring it into the school system.
You have no choice.
I have no choice if it's mandated.
It's not mandated? No. Okay, so if we have a choice, then that's even better. We have a choice here whether we're going to push, as far as I'm concerned, a racist point of view here, saying that all white people are the oppressors. I have a problem with that. And until I won't be here, but until I were to see what this curriculum is going to be, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And if this is not mandated, then that's an even easier thing for me to say. I would just, that's my feeling about this. Again, I won't be here, but I'll be on the other side, maybe from South Carolina, calling in about it and see what's going on with it, because it is not a good thing to have in our classrooms. I can guarantee you that.
So
Yeah.
our motion is to add this to the agenda. And I will call the roll. Mary Ellen? Are we
I'm a
gonna-
little confused. Yes, well, I'll add it to the agenda. I'm not quite sure of the motion, but I think it's to add a vote whether Hampton will teach critical race theory. Is that what I'm voting on?
Matthew, do you think that sounds right?
I must apologize, Neil. So you wanted a vote on whether. So you want to vote on whether.
I would make a motion that before we decide to teach this critical race so-called theory, that we, how can I put it concisely as possible? Before we teach critical race theory, we should know what it is and what the curriculum is before we have this in our classrooms. And
So you
if
want
this
to
is
vote
not
on whether we have
mandated, it is a choice.
discussion about critical race theory before it is taught in the classroom?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You want to have a vote on whether you want to have a vote on having a discussion on critical race theory being taught in the classroom before it's taught in the classroom.
That is correct.
Vote on
Review,
What?
a review.
So Mary Ellen voted to add it. Russ?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Susan?
I'm actually not sure what we're voting on. I thought we were voting to add it just to the agenda. Now we're adding,
Yeah.
that's all we're saying. We're not putting behind to vote or not to vote. That'll come up during discussion, correct? So we're just adding this to our agenda? All right,
Yes.
then that's fine. We can add it to the agenda.
Matthew?
Yes.
no.
Juan?
Yes.
Anne?
Abstaining.
I'm gonna vote on this one. And I'm gonna vote no. So the motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 2.
Yes.
So now we need the motion to be made for us to discuss and vote on it. So Matthew,
We just made the discussion to vote. I mean, the vote to discuss. I'm
no,
sorry.
we just made the vote to put
Add
it
it to
on.
the agenda.
Right. So
Right.
now we need the motion to do it or discuss it or whatever. Matthew, do you think you have a motion in that you could articulate for us?
To vote on whether we should discuss critical race theory before it is added to classroom curriculum.
Neil, does that cover what you want? You got to lean forward. I can't hear you. Oh, Neil, your microphone's off.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree. That's fine.
Right.
Okay. So who's making that motion? Neil, are you?
I'll make that motion. Russ.
Russ is making the motion. Who's seconding?
I'll second.
Okay. Made and seconded. Now we can have discussion.
To have, sorry, I'm just rereading I'll mute myself as I'm talking to myself.
So I have a comment or question.
Oh, okay. Anne?
So
You
I
want-
heard anything in terms of there being a mandate to teach critical race theory. And furthermore, I haven't even heard like a clear definition of critical race theory. What I've heard is a very consolidated, very vocal advocacy group opposing anything regarding critical race theory. But I don't see it as a yes or no answer or issue. And I certainly don't see it as anything that we're being asked to require in our school curriculum. I mean, I just don't see that happening.
Matt Flaggart, sorry, I'll just make my comment. Yeah, I think, sorry, now that I'm getting my head wrapped around it, if at some point it comes down that we are going to add critical race theory to our curriculum, then absolutely, I have no problem with having a discussion whenever that may be.
Rose?
I mean, a while
Yes,
ago,
Sus-
when I first brought this up, excuse me, sorry, Neil here. When
Go
I
ahead.
first brought this up, that was, I believe the guy's name was Corliss. I'm not sure exactly who he is, but it came
No,
again.
that's
Pardon me?
she's the secretary who types the letter.
Can you
And
hear Ann?
Carolyn,
And why don't you let Neil finish and then say something, okay?
yeah, what is about
Okay.
a month and a half ago, I sent in, what Mr. Corliss and Cabe, they both agree that they should follow this, this plan coming from, and this is coming from the State Board of Education. And it sounded like that's exactly what they want to do. Now, I don't want to assume that the town or I want to assume that the town has a yes or no option on this, as opposed to not being mandated. If it's not mandated, we still need a discussion. If it is an option that we have. But again, that was very stipulated. I read the whole thing, that email. I could send it out again, but if you read about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through, there's no hesitation to me, Ann, or anybody else, that I just think you need to read it. That's what they want to do. And I know, like I said, I've done enough research on this to know that it's going to cause a problem in town, and I'm just trying to ward off. You got to know what you're talking about. This is a major issue right across the country. So I just don't want people to be unprepared if something comes down and we're deciding we're going to do this. That's the best way I can explain it.
Any further discussion?
Rose?
Yes, Susan.
Love Green. Yes, I keep my eye on what's going on with the state, of course, and I haven't seen any sort of mandates come down about critical race theory. Is there a lot of discussion? Absolutely. Has there been any mandates? Not that I know of. And I think it would be premature to discuss taking a vote on something that has yet to actually exist. I think it makes us seem a little closed-minded, and as a board, we need to be open-minded, and we need to follow the mandates when they're given. So I think it's a little premature not to discuss it, but to vote to make it definitive when we don't even know what's coming down the pike yet.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mary Ellen. I don't mind having a discussion about this, but I think we have to define it. And I really don't know the definition of it as it applies to an elementary or a pre-K to 6 school. So I think our superintendent is going to have to flesh out for us what is meant by this. And then, because otherwise we generally don't write curriculum. We haven't been reviewing curriculum. So we wouldn't even know if this is happening unless our superintendent were to alert us to that. So I'm a little confused by, I mean, yes, I think discussing something doesn't bother me at all, but I'm not quite sure how we'll know when and what to be discussing.
I have a comment or question.
Yes, Ann?
Okay, so I agree with what other people are saying, and that I really would need a definition to even begin to have a discussion. I think that it's always a good thing to have safe discussions. You know, if we want to talk about the underlying issues here, I will say that if we were doing a little internet search right this minute, which we're not, but if we were, one of the things that might pop up would be the recent requirement of cultural sensitivity as an important component of the curriculum. And that's something that did pass the legislative process. But that's very different than critical race theory, because it doesn't say what you have to believe. It says that culture is an important topic, and issues like mascots that are depicting individuals as like red men, something like that, that's an issue different from critical race theory, but it's an issue that needs to be addressed in classrooms. So I think there's a need for some heavy duty discussion on issues of culture and diversity and equity. But to me, that the whole issue of critical race theory is different. And I don't hear any mandates that that's a requirement.
Like I said, I read the letter. I didn't forget what it said, but it's going to take me a while. And by the time I find it, again, I just tried to find it through all my emails, and I can't find out what the letter was. So I can't.
So I'm going to.
I can't read what it said, but it was very plain that maybe they don't use the word CRT, critical race theory. They use whatever this title was, the importance of culturally responsive education, which is fine with me. But you go down further on a lot of these things, and it says things that I don't like the way it sounds. Let me put it that way. And it's not just a theory to them. This is the way it should be. And in my opinion, it's not. You got a lot of people that think like me. Again, I'm open-minded to this stuff. And I see Frank wants to chime in, but maybe it's not a mandate, but they expect it to be done. And maybe Frank says he hasn't seen it yet, which is fine. But I think we should be prepared as opposed to just reacting to this. Again, it's a nationwide problem. Maybe a lot of you don't know, are not aware of it, but it's causing a lot of problems in towns, and it's all over the country. So I just want to make sure everybody here understands what's going to be here eventually.
Okay, Dr. Ola, did you want to add something?
Yes, just clarification. The memo I think that Mr. Moon is referring to was written by Bob Rader. His secretary actually typed it up, but he is the executive director for CABE, which is the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, not the Connecticut State Department of Education. And it's the Connecticut State Department of Education that I have to answer to. CABE is just another group of people with opinions. And CABE is what Ann reports on during her committee report section of our board packet. So it is not anything that the State Board of Education or the Connecticut State Department of Education has made any decision on in terms of even discussing the issue, let alone having a curriculum on it at this point. Just a clarification of the CABE memo, not State Department of Education.
Thank
Well,
you.
I just know that CABE endorsed whatever the State Board of Education said. So we can go from there. I think I've made my point, is that this needs to be addressed. Again, I won't be here, and I regret that I won't be here, because to me, this is a major topic, along with, you know, the masks and everything else. But I'm just trying to open the door to some thinking ahead of time before it catches you off guard, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Okay, is there anyone who hasn't had an opportunity to express their opinion who would like to? Hearing none, I'll call the vote.
What are we voting on?
Matthew, would you please read for us the motion?
Ross Moffett, Neil Moon, to have a discussion as a board before critical race theory is added to the Hampton Elementary School curriculum.
Okay. Mary Ellen, how do you vote?
Yes,
Russ?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Susan? Susan? We'll come back to.
Yeah, no, sorry, I said yes twice. I didn't realize I was still on mute.
Okay. Matthew?
Yes.
Juan?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes,
Was that a yes?
yes.
yes.
And I will vote
You have to
yes.
speak one more, I think.
The motion carries unanimously. Now we move on to audience for citizens and staff.
Rose. Swan.
Yes, yes, Juan.
I would just like to bid Neil goodbye. And thank you for serving with us. Thank you for running for the board, and thank you for your responsibility. Good luck to you in your endeavors in South Carolina. Make sure you go to Charleston. Also, enjoy your retirement period, Neil, and enjoy the time with your loved ones. It's been good to know you as a colleague and as a human being and as a friend. Thank you.
So I want to return to the agenda. Kathy?
Yes, just to be clear, I didn't receive the year-end June reports when I was signaling.
okay.
I did not receive them either. So when they get sent out, I would appreciate them being sent. Also, under correspondence, I did send a reminder letter. I want the board to be aware, Board of Education, I sent a reminder letter to Frank, Rose, Mark, and Sally about the transfer of funds to the HES capital non-occurring account, also with copies of the ordinances that pertain to that. I sent that on August 17th. I got a response back from Frank. Sally was away. At that time, he thought that the surplus was going to be in the $20,000 range. Wasn't aware of the newer things. Since you've spoken to the auditor and have some correspondence going back and forth with Steve, I'd appreciate any copies of that sent to me also, so that I can stay up to date on, you know, what his thoughts are on this as far as that goes. The SPED report, I just have a couple questions. The birth to 3, are those included in the numbers that were put on the report? That's for Ms. Clark. As far as speech services, I wasn't sure whether those were included in the numbers. And then,
Do you want me to answer that now?
sure.
They were not put on.
Okay.
That's a good point. We also have birth to 3 coming. Thank you.
Okay, and so then, but some of the number that were on there might be speech services of children who are already seated in the school. It's just the birth to 3 that were included, correct?
That is possible.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we wouldn't include birth to 3 because we don't provide those services.
Right.
So,
But
yeah.
what I think the second thing she just said, I want to make sure I'm answering correctly, is that some of the students that are on that count of 18 could just be students who only receive speech. Is that what you're asking, Mrs. Donahue?
Yes, that is.
Yes. So the answer to that is yes, that is possible.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. And then, did we have a count on how many people actually rode the bus on those first few days?
Frank, you're muted.
Sorry. When I rode the bus, I did not actually count the number of students to give you an accurate number, but both mornings and afternoons on both buses, especially bus number 1 in the morning bus number 1 in the morning and bus number 2 in the afternoon were full.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
That's all.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank Neil Moon also for his services and hope he enjoys the Carolina sunshine.
Dr.
Okay.
Ola, what does a full bus mean? An estimated number, more or less, because I know if they can carry up to 64 kids. I know there aren't 64 kids in that bus because of the spacing and all that stuff.
Right.
So can we say like 25, 30?
If I give you a number, it's going to come back to haunt me. So let me.
No, let's do estimate. That way it won't haunt you.
I agree with Frank. Let him get an accurate number.
Okay.
I am meeting with the drivers and the other people of EastCon, so I will try to include that if they have a ongoing count. Every day it's in morning is different from the afternoon, even though it's the same route. So I will try to get that as accurate as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, we are ready for a motion to adjourn. Would
Motion to
anyone-
adjourn.
Juan, and do we have a second?
I'll second Susan Lovegreen.
Susan seconded. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
and Deanne.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. We are adjourning at 9:15 p.m.
Good night,
Just wanted to
everyone.
thank everybody for their kind thoughts, and I appreciated working with everybody, and regrettably, I had to get off. But that's the way things go sometimes, so, but I wish everybody well, and everybody that, stay well, and everybody heal. We have some people that could use some help with healing, and appreciated everybody's friendship. Thank you.
Neil, thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, Neil.
Best wishes.
Hasta luego.
Hey, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Thanks, Rose.